methodical. A bell like this or similar is kind of a traditional way of beginning and ending a meditation session. I think it kind of signals that we're in a special time and place right now. Let's be take our time when we're speaking and listen attentively to each other. It's a good way to start. I'd like you each to tell your first and last name and where you're from, and then in a few minutes we'll have a chance to go into a little bit more detail about your story. But Jim, would you start?
Sure. I'm Jim Bray. I'm from Chilton.
I'm Gail Geyser. I'm from Chilton.
I'm Kate Geiger. I'm from Chilton.
I'm Joan Neese from Elkhart Lake.
I'm Zach Hirschberg. I'm from Chilton.
Megan Hirschberg from Chilton.
Did you all get an email from me confirming that I got your registration? Good.
Yes.
So I'm just completing some things here. Joan, Elkhart Lake, you said, huh?
Yes.
Not that I need your address, but just in case I'd like to have that. And Flossie signed up, so maybe she'll be coming yet. And Meg and Zach, is that a New Osteen address or
Chilton.
Chilton. So I'd like to congratulate all of you on making this decision to join us for this 6 weeks. As you know, there's just 3 things I ask of you. Try to be here each week. Try to read what I ask of you in this book, Real Happiness. I know Kim, who said she's going to be late, didn't have the book, and I told her she could borrow an extra one of mine. The library has some to borrow if you want, or, it's nice to own it because it's a great resource. This is my 15th, 20th time going through it, and I always learn something new. So do that, and if possible, set aside a time every day to practice what we're doing here. 10 minutes is a good goal to start with. I'm going to tell a little bit how I came to be here tonight, and then I'm going to ask each of you to do the same. Tell your story a little bit. So I started meditating off and on in college 50 some years ago. And when was it? It was about 2015, 14, so it's about 10 years ago. There was a class very much like this available through my medical group. Forget what it was called at the time, Affinity, I think, in Appleton, which I took, and it really was very helpful. So I began to meditate more regularly, and a couple years later, I was at a medical conference in Madison, and I was just thinking about what I might do in retirement. And somehow it came to me, I could teach meditation. It's another way to help people, and it'll help me too. So I resolved to do that. So what did I have to do to become a meditation teacher? Well, number one is to have a daily meditation practice. So I started that, and I've hardly missed a day since then. also started reading a lot more about meditation. I had the opportunity to attend some retreats, which were very helpful. Weekend retreats, a couple of week-long retreats. And what year was that? 2018, so almost 6 years ago. I took a class at UW in Madison called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is from that kind of class, which is an 8-week class, 2 hours a week, that I had the opportunity to attend in Madison. At one of those weekend retreats, I was talking to Stephen, one of the teachers, and I said, Stephen, I'd like to teach meditation, but I don't think I'm ready. And he was getting to know me a little bit. He said, Michael, you're ready. Little did I know that he was recruiting me to be part of his team teaching in the Wisconsin prisons. So after a little bit more training, in about 2019, I started teaching this class. So this is the 5th year doing this, and started to going to some of the prisons in Wisconsin. There's a group called the Wisconsin Mindfulness Initiative, which has 40 teachers or so, volunteers who go to, I believe, 15 different prisons in Wisconsin. And so I currently go to Kettle Moraine Prison 3 times a month or so. I go to Fox Lake Prison about once a month. And I'm looking for more helpers, volunteers there, which has been very rewarding. So thank you for being part of my practice, because this is how I get to keep studying and learning, because you're here. So I'd like to hear, just briefly, your story about what brought you here tonight. Who would like to start?
My wife brought me here tonight.
That's a good
Some of you
reason.
know Megan already as a yoga teacher, and so she's been teaching yoga a long time. And
Yeah, say your
also-
name again when we go around.
I'm Zach. I'm sorry, I'm Zach.
Thank you.
And so Megan's been practicing yoga for a long time, but then also meditation in the last couple of years, and I've had the opportunity to try it a few times. I have no history in meditation really. I'm open to it, and I like it, and I think a good, I don't know exactly what to expect here, but we've done these guided meditations that are mainly focused on breathing, and I've enjoyed them. So I continue to do that once in a while, and thought I'd enjoy this class probably as well. And Megan already spoke highly of it, so comes highly recommended.
And I encouraged, not demanded. I said, I'm gonna sign you up, and then you think about it, look at the book, and then decide, you don't have to come, you can always take your name off the list. And
I did
he
my
was
homework.
like, he read the book, and he was like, oh, yeah, I'm coming, and so here we are. So I'll just piggyback off of that. I'm Megan, and I have been a yoga instructor 15 years, I guess now, and my meditation practice really took off, I would say, as far as like being a more regular, not just something I do, but just part of who I am, maybe for just 5 years. And because I've been practicing more,
Good, come in. Not too late, Kim, come on in. Anywhere you like.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
Megan, I'm just telling about myself a little bit. Zach already went. In order to teach something, I'm also an educator, but in order to teach something, it really needs to be something that I feel practiced in. And so I've been teaching meditation as a snippet of my yoga with more confidence for a couple of years now. But the main reason why I'm here and why meditation is so important to me is because I feel like so much of my energy, which I have a lot of, and is projected outward in all the things that I do, and meditation helps me come home, back inside myself, and find a little bit of peace again, and fill up my reserves. And I just want to say thank you to you, Michael, for offering these classes, because I did just take it last session and then I knew I was going to do it again, and I'll probably do it again. It's just a really wonderful thing to offer the community, so thank you.
I can go next.
Okay.
I'm Joan. I'm here because of Meg. I do yoga with her and I enjoy her meditations during yoga. I've experimented with meditation during COVID. I'm a nurse, and I'm also looking to bring energy back to myself because I give so much. So, trying to heal myself yet and take care of myself.
Thank you.
I'm Kate. I'm here because I feel like there's so much hate and anger and bad things going on in the world, and it's hard to let that go. And I was hoping that this would be a good practice to help me to relax and sleep better and just be at peace with everything.
I'm Gail, and I got referred from Megan, and I enjoy the yoga from her. So that's my background or experience is meditation is from Megan. I feel I took this. I think I want to keep my brain alert and not fading as I retire. So I'm looking at it as a learn something new and energize, stay alert and kind to others.
I'm Kim. I also took your yoga class, but I saw your post on the library, so I am am I supposed to say what I'm doing?
Sure, go ahead. Why you came here was my question. How you came.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so I am a 911 dispatcher, been there for 28 years, and I went to Meg's class originally 5 years ago. And nothing seems to work for me, and I know that different things work for different people. And I won't scare everyone with what happened 5 years ago. So this is what I'm here. Maybe this will work.
I'm Jim. I'm from Chilton. My wife and I began taking these classes together, and that was the first time. And then she got very, very sick, and I've taken the class now twice since, and I found it very helpful. It was very helpful as she was ill and passed away. It's been helpful to me as I tried to transition to a new life, getting in touch with myself, becoming aware of who she is and who she was to me, and how I fared during that very difficult time when I was her caregiver. Michael is no stranger. He was our family doctor. and I've never taken a yoga class.
It's good that some of us just aren't very good at it.
Thank you. So good reasons, all of us. And who knows, this may be a benefit. I think it's good to try it, you know. If you find out this doesn't work for you, okay, but give it a good try. You won't know for a while. Perhaps, in fact, other people may notice a change in you before you notice anything. I just, with the help of a friend, came up with a great metaphor for why we do this. Mindfulness is a ramp off the hamster wheel. We all feel that hamster wheel in our daily life. So we're so busy with work, with family, with friends, with leisure activities, with the internet, with social media, with responsibilities, with taking care of our property. And our minds are also like a hamster wheel. It's so busy. For most of us, I think probably all of us, but some of us more than others, I know mine is. We're planning something for the future or worrying about what could happen. We're thinking about the past and maybe regrets how we could have done things better. And we're comparing ourselves to other people. It's exhausting. And meditation and mindfulness is a way to let that go. At least for a few moments or for a few minutes. And if we keep practicing that again and again, as Meg said, it becomes a way of life. That we can let those things go. And so what I hear from people the most is, number one, is that this practice brings peace, calm, patience. Number two, this is one thing I hear from the men at the prisons a lot, is it reduces our reactivity to triggers. We all have some things that irritate us. Certain people, the media, what's happening in the country, our own families, especially people, but it can be anything that we notice, I don't like that, and we tend to have certain habitual responses where we react to them. So in the prison, somebody bumps you, you're gonna bump them back, and maybe you end up in a fight and you end up in the hole for a month. We all have that. So we have this, that's normal. It's normal to have those habits. They're ingrained in us over years and years. They're in our genes, and they're partly protective. You can imagine that if there's something dangerous, we want to escape from it or react to it in some way. You know, there's what the three responses, fight, flight, or freeze. Mindfulness allows us a little space between the stimulus and our response. That little space, when we notice what's going on, we notice that problem, just that little split-second space, or maybe longer, we realize we don't have to react habitually. We don't have to react with what comes to us. We can react more wisely. So that's a big thing that many people notice. Another thing that happens sometimes that's wonderful, for me, when it happens, is insight. Sometimes, if we're able to quiet our mind for a little while, those stream of thoughts kind of settle down, and we just kind of level out, there's a deeper wisdom inside of us that comes to the surface. Oh. So let's say there's a problem with a family member. We're trying to figure this out and we don't know what to do, okay? So there's a saying about sleep on it, which really is helpful because our mind subconsciously works out the problem, and then in the morning we say, oh, I know what to do, or, oh, it's really not a problem at all. Mindfulness, meditation is like that. It's like we realize what to do, we realize certain things, what's happening in our life or with other people. Those insights are precious. Now, all of these things, peace, non-reactivity, insight, are fruits of the practice, but it's a mistake to go into this practice seeking them. Ironically, they will come when we're not trying to get them. So just doing the practice, sitting in meditation, whatever comes, a lot of these things will come. So there's a lot of different kinds of meditation, and what I'm teaching is called mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness means learning to pay attention. That's basically it, learning to pay attention, moment by moment, to what's happening in our mind with thoughts, in our body with sensations, and in the world around us. And we do this with a certain attitude, an attitude of curiosity. Not judging what happens, just noticing it. Oh, that's interesting. So we go outside and we go for a walk, and a cold blast hits our face, and we often react, oh, that's unpleasant. And with mindfulness, we just notice, oh, that's interesting. It's cold. It's a whole different experience. So the attitude of curiosity, noticing, oh, that's interesting. Even unpleasant things, more unpleasant than a cold blast. Somebody insults us. That doesn't feel good, and we notice it. Oh, that's interesting. What does that teach me? Can it teach me something? Oh. And the other part of the attitude is kindness. When we're trying to meditate and concentrate, we notice our minds continually go off. Keep going off and off and off. And it can get frustrating. Oh, I'm going off again. Come back. Going off again. Come back. Kindness is so important to say, yeah, that happens. It's okay. I'll keep trying. And when we're kind to ourselves, this starts to radiate out. So kindness is a pivotal part of the practice, learning to be kind to ourselves and then kind to all those around us. So in the next 6 weeks, we'll go do some certain practices that promote mindfulness. This is a mind training program, this class and this practice. I hope many of you got a chance to read the opening chapters in Real Happiness, where Sharon, and like I said, I've read this book 10, 15 times, and every time I'm gaining something from it. In the opening chapters, Sharon talks about the values of meditation. And I underlined a few of the things this time as I went through that I thought were helpful. Here it is. Meditation helps us to find greater tranquility, connect to our feelings, find a sense of wholeness, strengthen our relationships, and face our fears. That's on page 3. I agree. It does that. On page 10, she's talking about habitual responses. Like I was saying earlier, how over a lifetime we have these habits that are not only learned, but they're probably genetic, habitual responses to what happens. Some of these are helpful, some not so helpful. These habitual responses are often the result of a lifetime's conditioning, the earliest lessons from our parents and our culture, both explicit teaching and non-verbal cues. Those of you who are teachers know about this. And as we learn mindfulness, we learn what some of those habits are. And we can decide if we want to cultivate that habit or if we want to try to do something else instead. She talks about, on page 13, a pause for non-judgmental acknowledgement creates a bit of peaceful space within which we can make new, different choices about how to respond to something like anger. In this way, we break old habits. Anger is a big one, and anger takes many forms. It can mean feeling irritated. It can mean judging someone. It can be feeling irate. It can mean striking out. All different forms of anger, which is one of the things that mindfulness helps with. Now, anger can be productive. You know, that these emotions, like anger, are some of the things that drive us to accomplish things. But with mindfulness, we learn how to modulate that, how to use that. So meditation is a way to train us in mindfulness. Meditation is the tool we use to learn this skill, this mental skill of paying attention. And we do it by practicing it regularly, by sitting down and doing the meditation, which we'll come to in just a minute. One of the things Sharon talks about in the book is the growing amount of research over the past 20 to 30 years that proves that this does help in many different ways. When I went to medical school 40 years ago, we learned that the brain really doesn't change much after you're 16 or so. You've learned all these things, and then the brain is kind of locked in until you start to lose things. But we've found out with a lot of different kind of research, and it's one of the main things is this thing called functional MRI, where they can see which parts of the brain are working at certain times. And they've shown that we can rewire our brains in positive ways with meditation. One way that there's a writer named Dan Goleman, I think, wrote about this, that kind of illustrates this. It's called the hand model of the brain. And he came up with this for elementary school kids, but it works for all of us. It's really good, I think. So if we think of our nervous system as a hand, the spinal cord brings us information from the body, sensations, also, of course, we can include in that the 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste. What's the other one? Touch. So that's the spinal cord. The palm represents the brain stem, where this information is collected and distributed, let's say, okay? The thumb represents the part just above the brain stem. Hypothalamus is part of it, the amygdala is part of it. There's a broader name for this whole part, which is largely about emotions, where we feel emotions. So this brain stem and this part are primitive areas. They're sometimes called the reptilian brain. That's where we have these responses that protect us against danger. Then there's the cortex, which is the outer part of the brain, which is the more advanced human thinking part, not just humans, but especially in humans. And the prefrontal cortex is where we do our highest level of thinking. And they've shown that meditation improves the connections with these areas. It reduces that reptilian brain response because it allows the cortex to control it better. So it's helpful to know that science proves what we're doing. And they keep finding more and more things about the advantages of meditation. So it's worthwhile doing. So knowing that, I think, is valuable because it motivates us to do this, which isn't always pleasant. It can be very boring, but as Sharon says sometimes, just put your body there. Take that time to sit and meditate. So the basic practice where we're learning this is called sitting meditation. There's a Sanskrit word for it, shamatha. I'm not sure if it's Sanskrit or Pali, one of those old Indian words. And that's the main form of meditation that we'll be doing, that Sharon talks about, and I'll be talking about, in which we have a focus, something that we concentrate on, noticing that, and then we notice when our attention goes somewhere else, when we're thinking about something else, when we're sensing something, when certain emotions come up. So it's like a point of reference. And the main tool we use for focus is the breath. And the breath is wonderful because the breath is always there. It's always available. And it brings us into the moment. The breath is right now. It's not in the future or the past. So what we do in the practice is we notice the sensation of each breath. Now I'm breathing in, now I'm breathing out. And just paying attention to that, what it feels like. So we usually try to focus on one area. Maybe you notice it in your nostril, cool air going in, warm air going out, a little tickling. Or maybe you notice it in your chest when it rises and falls. Or maybe in the belly, same thing, rising and falling. So this tool, noticing each breath, and then noticing when our attention goes somewhere else, and letting that go and coming back to the next breath is the practice. Not very exciting. It's very simple, but it's not easy. So that's where that kindness comes in. We have to realize, yeah, this isn't easy, but I'm going to keep trying it, keep coming back to the breath over and over again, and it does get better. We do learn that our thoughts calm down a bit, and we feel better. Real happiness. So that's what we're going to work on tonight. During the next 6 weeks, we'll be doing other kinds of practices, but we'll always keep coming back to the sitting meditation, focusing on the breath. In weeks 2 and 3, we'll be talking about awareness of the body. Sensations of the body can be a focus. We'll be doing some yoga, a technique called the body scan. We'll be doing walking meditation, and many people's favorite, the eating meditation. We'll also focus more on awareness of our thoughts and emotions and how to handle those. And there's one that's specifically about kindness, loving kindness meditation, which is many people's very favorite, that they found the most valuable. And we'll finish up with a talk about mindful communication and where to go from here. Now, sometimes I've made this an 8-week course where we focus more on what to do with pain, both physical and emotional. But I'm coming back to the 6-week course this time, partly because of my travel plans. So we'll finish this by early March. Now, having this recorded is an advantage. If there's something happens where you're sick, you can't come, you have the advantage of being able to watch it if you have a computer or a phone on the Chilton Public Library YouTube channel, which is, really thank them for this. So that's available. Sorry, I'm talking so much, but let's do some meditation, okay? So one of the ways we do this is with guided meditations, which we'll tend to do in this class, where I'll be kind of giving you cues of what to do. Now, one of the things about this that is very helpful is having a good posture. You can do it in a chair. It's best if you can have your back straight. Now, it's really wonderful to do it with a meditation cushion, which is traditional, but as I get older, I'm not able to do this very well, but I'm just going to show it. It's nice to have your knees below the level of your hips. And it's a nice tripod, you're real stable, your back is straight. And one reason to have the back relatively straight is that's when you can really feel your breath. It also kind of heightens your attention. You know, it's a good habit. We're talking about habits. If you have a certain place and time and posture for your meditation, it kind of gives you a clue that that's what you're doing right now. Oh, I'm meditating. I'm being very mindful. So posture is helpful. You can use a cushion, and I have more cushions if some of you want to use some in the future. This way works. And what I had been doing, and I still occasionally do, is a bench like this, and we have some of these. But a lot of times my back, I really like some back support. So having a chair that's straight and gives you a little back support is very helpful. But here's another way to sit, what we call a dignified posture. I think I'll just stay like this for now. Each class, I'll be talking and we'll go through some stuff and we'll have time for discussion, which we will tonight. Usually a class takes an hour, sometimes it might be up to an hour and a half. If you find that you have to leave early, try to let me know, or if you can't come, or if you're going to be late, try to let me know. You'll, I think, have my phone number and my email. So let's start this. Let's find a posture where we can feel comfortable, alert, and relaxed. You can do this lying down or standing up. Problem with doing it lying down is often it's so relaxing we fall asleep, so that's not the objective right now. We want to stay alert and relaxed. Finding our meditation posture, noticing our body. Noticing the points of contact with the floor, the chair, the cushion. Just paying attention to what that feels like. Noticing our hands, notice the position of our hands and what they're in contact with. Just paying attention, just noticing what it feels like to be sitting here. We can have our eyes closed or open, gazing down softly ahead of us. We notice our back supporting our body. Notice our shoulders, and if they're tense, we drop them down. Just noticing what it feels like to sit here. Now we bring our attention to the sensation of our breath. Noticing what it feels like to breathe in and breathe out. Maybe saying to ourselves silently, in, out, wherever we notice the breath, focus on that area. Notice the pause after the out breath. Notice how the body knows when to take the next in breath. We don't have to control it. In this practice, we're not trying to control our breath, we're just noticing the natural rhythm of the breath. Sometimes we may notice, oh, that was a deep in-breath. Oh, that was a long out-breath. Just noticing it. Maybe saying to ourselves, rising, falling. And at some point, we'll notice our attention has wandered away from the breath. We're noticing maybe some aches and pains somewhere. Oh, that's interesting. We let that go and come back to the next breath. Maybe some sounds or other perceptions take our attention. Oh, hearing. And let that go, come back to the next breath. Thoughts will occur. Oh, when do I have to be home? What am I going to do when I get home? Plans. Memories. Oh, what happened earlier today? Just notice that. Oh, thinking. How interesting. But I'm not going to stay with that right now. I'm going to let that go and come back to the next breath. Maybe certain emotions will capture our attention. Boy, is this boring. And we say, oh, boring, that's kind of interesting. Or, how peaceful. And we begin to remember other times when we were peaceful. And we say, oh, thinking, that's okay. Let that go and come back to the next breath. Right now, during this brief period, there's nothing else to do, nowhere to be, just sit and breathe. Sometimes we'll notice certain body sensations, maybe an itch. And we say, oh, interesting, and I have this desire to scratch that itch. Well, maybe I can let go of that sensation and that urge just for a little bit and come back to breathing. And certainly, if that's persistent, it's okay to go ahead and scratch the itch or adjust our posture. Sitting, breathing in and out. And we notice, how do we feel? We notice what's going on around us. And we end our little meditation. Will you try this? Any comments about what I talked about or about meditation or mindfulness? Questions?
I'm thinking I like to start my day out just running the steps, getting my cardio going. But am I better to do meditation first and then my cardio, or vice versa? I mean, is there a
Good question.
recommended way?
Yes. Each of us has our own way of doing it. It is, and I'm going to give you a handout. Most classes I have a handout. The handout today is getting started, so it talks about some of these issues. But it's good to set a time and place for this each day. Many of us like early in the morning. Some people prefer in the evening. Some people don't like to have a structured time. They like to just fit it in whenever. But for most of us, it's good to set a time. Personally, what I like to do is, first thing when I get up, I will do a bit of reading about meditation. That kind of motivates me. Then I'll do some stretching or some brief yoga. I found that wakes up my mind and body a little bit before I do my sitting meditation. And then I sit. And how long you do it varies. You can start off with 5 minutes if you'd like. 10 minutes is pretty good. 20 minutes is a very good goal to get to. Sharon says she'd like you to be doing 20 minutes 3 times a week. I think it's valuable to do it every day, even if it's very short. And if you miss a day, that's okay. But if you have a time and place that you structure for this, that's helpful. So during your cardio, before or after, either one, you'll find what works for you. If you do it before, that may wake you up. If you do your cardio after, you may notice you can pay better attention to what you're doing, your exercise. So they're both valuable. And in fact, some of these things, mindfulness of body things we'll be doing in the next couple of weeks, are about paying attention while we're active, which is very valuable too. But still, we keep coming back to this core sitting meditation, focusing on each breath.
Do you recommend finding some sort of a guided meditation to talk you through it? I enjoyed having you kind of remind us, and maybe it's just because I'm a beginner, but reminding us, come back to the breath, come back to the breath. Do you recommend just trying to do it in silence, or find some sort of a guided, maybe not something that you'd listen to forever, but
Yes, many people find guided meditation very valuable, and it's a good way to start. Or stay with it if you. And I usually I hand this out later about some references about where you can find guided meditation. There's apps you can get. There's one that I particularly like called Mindfulness Helps Memory, but I'm still working on it. I'll think of it. But, and in the book, Sharon has guided meditations. Now, it used to be that there was a CD in there, which I've lost mine, that had the guided meditations. But I know that I believe if you go to the back of the book, it will tell you how to download some guided meditations that Sharon does. And Sharon's so good, her voice is really calming and guiding. Healthy Minds, that's the name of the
I was
app.
gonna ask you, cause I wrote it down on the
Yeah,
bottom of this.
Healthy Minds is an app available from UW-Madison, the Center for Healthy Minds. And they have guided meditations that are from 5 minutes to like 40 minutes. You can pick how long, brief little talks about it. So Healthy Minds is an app that's free and very valuable. That's one, but there's other ones too. Yes, guided meditation is valuable.
And I would think what I found as a beginner was the guided ones helped me feel like I was doing it right, or that I was like, following along like a good student. But it's beneficial to also practice with nothing, because that's when you observe what's going on in your head more, and how you react. I remember when I first started feeling like I was wasting time, because I was, we're all trained to be really, because like I grew up on a farm, and work was always like focus and like being productive and multitasking. And so when I first started, and I guess it's good to know this as a beginner, like you might feel like you're wasting your time, or there's so many things I should be doing instead. And that's when you gotta keep doing it, because it does start to pay off, where you realize the benefit is like affecting your productivity the rest of the day, or just how much more meaning you find in your life because you're more mindful of everything you're doing, like washing dishes or whatever it may be. Sorry, I went on a little tangent for the person, but I guess that was my share. You didn't ask for any yet, but I gave it.
I have a share that happened to me this evening. I was taking my son to pick up his truck, which was down at the shop, and somebody pulled out in front of me, cut me off. And I'm like, what do you suppose that bozo's doing, or something like that. I said something real calming, and he looks at me, he's 18, and he goes, Mom, you handle that really well. I didn't think about it until you mentioned it tonight, and I'm like, wow, I would have normally had some swear words to say, so I don't know, it must be working.
There's the power.
Yeah, good.
I just think of the past yoga class I've had way back when for a college class. Acknowledge the motorcycle's going past, and now we're back to breathing. You acknowledge it and get back to task.
I started out meditating in the evening, and I'm not sure I wanted to try the morning, but the morning didn't work for me because there was too much planning going on. And so I went back to the evening, but I like to read at night. But I've been doing a lot of reading on meditation, books that Michael has recommended, others that I've found. And I found that is very productive, and I found that I end the meditation session not so much looking forward to going to sleep, but to going to my reading.
So here's a handout, and I apologize for the quality of these. Some of them got cut off at the top, some of them have the hole punches on the wrong side. Many of you have one of these, but take another one just for tonight. It's called Getting Started. And this kind of has some good advice about getting your meditation practice off to a good start.
I got one too.
All right. So the first thing is about the environment. So it's a good time to have a certain time of day when you're going to do this. Determine the time you will practice and stick with it. Number 2, find a place. It's very helpful to have a certain place. For one thing, you want to find a place that'll be relatively quiet and you won't be interrupted. So if you're in a home with other people, find a place and maybe let people know, well, I'm going to be meditating for a little while, so can you leave me alone for 15 minutes? Okay? Try to be as quiet as possible, so don't have your phone there. Now, I use my phone as a timer, which is very helpful. So it's helpful to set a certain amount of time. If it's a guided meditation, it'll do that for you. If you're just doing it on your own, you can set a timer on your phone for what period you'd like. So I'd like you to try 10 minutes. If you're not using a guided meditation, try to sit for 10 minutes. And just notice what it's like. The 10 minutes may feel like an eternity, and you just sit with that. Or it may go by really fast, who knows? But you've made a commitment to just sit there and notice your breath as well as possible for 10 minutes. I do 30 minutes right now. I find that's valuable. For me, for a while I was doing 40 minutes. Now 30 minutes I find is a good time for me. And number 3, if you live with others, ask them to not disturb you. The next part is about formal practice, and that's what we just did, the sitting meditation focusing on the breath. Sometimes it says, help you to relax, maybe a few deep breaths, stretching can be helpful. Set an intention to follow your breath. Let go of any expectations that you have to feel a certain way. How you are feeling in any given moment is simply how you are feeling. Oh, it's boring, or it's exciting. Oh, well, fine, just noticing that. It can be very interesting. Let your attitude be one of gentle patience with yourself, as each moment is simply what is. Remember, we are practicing awareness of what is as it is arising and passing away in any given moment. So we're in this moment, and it's continually changing. Practice with an intention of having a beginner's mind, and trust the natural unfolding of this kind of loving awareness as it continues to become stronger within your own experience. So realize, and we're always beginners, right? This isn't easy. Well, I'm a beginner, it's okay, I'm gonna keep trying. Allow it to be however it is. Each day will be unique to that day. So some days you may sit and do your meditation, and afterward you say, oh, I feel so good, that was so peaceful. I really feel energized and so calm. And other days you say, my mind was just going crazy the whole time. That's okay. It's gonna be different. It's gonna be different. And learning to trust that whatever happens, it's worthwhile to stick with it. So that's the formal practice, setting that time and place for the sitting meditation practice. Then there's an informal practice, and that's about trying to be mindful of daily activities. So a good one is brushing our teeth, brushing my teeth. So notice, I say to myself, okay, brushing my teeth, I'm going to try to pay attention during this 2 minutes. Notice grabbing the toothbrush, noticing putting the toothpaste on there, noticing the movement, noticing the sensation in the mouth, and then noticing when I'm thinking about what I'm going to do later, and then coming back to the noticing, brushing my teeth, noticing what it feels like, doing it kind of slowly, really paying attention. Just brushing our teeth is a great mindfulness activity. It's a meditation. And we can do this with anything. We're going up the stairs. Well, I'm going to pay attention to going up the stairs right now. Instead of thinking about what I'm going to do when I get up there, I'm just going to notice each step as I go up. Moment to moment awareness is what we're learning. So we have plenty of opportunities during the day to just be aware of what we're doing, noticing in the moment. We'll do some formal walking meditation, but informal walking meditation is wonderful. So if you go for a walk, there's a lot of things to notice. You can notice what it feels like to take each step. You can notice your breath. Obviously, you have your eyes open, and you notice sights around you, lights, activities, colors. You notice sounds, and you notice thoughts. Oh, I'm not noticing what's going on right now. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next, my plans for the day, etc. Oh, come back to just being in the moment, noticing what's happening. So walking and noticing what's happening around us in our mind, as I said, in our body, the sensations we have, and around us, moment by moment. And you know, it can get kind of frustrating. There's so many things to notice. How can I keep doing this? And just coming back to, well, just staying with it and just noticing how peaceful at times it is. Sometimes when I get a little panicky about trying to do this, I just say, just be with that peaceful part of noticing each breath, each moment. For next week, we'll be meeting again here, 6 p.m. So try to set aside those 10 minutes or more each day and read part of this book. Kim?
Thank you.
If you, like I said, the library has some to lend out if you need one. If you got my email, it was about trying to read the first 34 pages before tonight. So if you didn't do that, try to read the introduction, and then try to read week 1 on concentration, which starts on page 35, and it's fairly long because it's about what we just talked about. It goes up to page 76. So try to read all of that before next week. I won't necessarily be referring directly to the book, but the book goes through basically what we're gonna be doing in class each week. So, 3 things: come back, meditate each day, and read that part. Stay as long as you like after this to talk if you want with each other or with me. Call me or email me if you need to. But try to do this. Try it for a while. Okay? We'll always end with a short meditation, so let's do that. Let's find our posture. Sitting, just sitting here and letting all the thoughts, plans, what we heard, what we're thinking, kind of letting that settle. Noticing what it feels like to sit here right now. Taking note of our mood. Do we feel calm or energized or nervous or depressed? Just noticing that. And bring our attention to the breath. Noticing each in-breath and each out-breath. The in-breath gives us energy. The out-breath gives us calm. Just sitting and breathing.